Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Girivaradhari Jaya Girivara Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Shri Shri Radha Govinda ki jai. All glories to the Semo devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Naranam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dirayet. Reading from Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 22, Text 31. Kushakashamayam Barhir Kushakashamayam Barhir Astirya Bhagavan Manu Astirya Bhagavan Manu Ajayat Yagya Purusham Ajayat Yagya Purusham Labdastanam Yato Bhuvam Labdhastanam Yato Bhuvam Kushakashamayam Barhir Astirya Bhagavan Manu Ayajat Yagya Purusham Labdhastanam Yato Bhuvam.
Kushakashamayam Barhir Kushakashamayam Barhir Astirya Bhagavan Manu Astirya Bhagavan Manu Ayajat Yagya Purusham Labdhastanam Yato Bhuvam
Stanam Yato Bhuvam.
Kushakashamayam Barhir Astirya Bhagavan Manu Ayajat Yagya Purusham
Ayajat Yagya Purusham
Labdastanam Yato Bhuvam
Labdastanam Yato Bhuvam. Kushakashamayam Barhir Astirya Bhagavan Manu Ayajat Yagya Purusham Labdastanam Yato Bhuvam. Kushakashamayam Barhir Astirya Bhagavan Manu Ayajat Yagya Purusham Labdastanam Yato. Kusha of kusha grass, kasha end of kasha grass, mayam made, barhi a seat, astirya having spread, Bhagavan the greatly fortunate, Manu Svayambhuva Manu, Ayajat worshipped, Yagya Purusham Lord Vishnu, Labdha had achieved, Stanam the abode, Yatha from whom, Bhuvam the earth. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace by Charan Arvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Shiv Prabhupada Ki Jai. Manu spread a seat of kushas and kashas and worshipped the Lord, the personality of Godhead, by whose grace he had obtained the rule of the terrestrial globe. Manu is the father of mankind, and therefore from Manu comes the word man, or in Sanskrit Manushya. Those who are in a better position in the world, having sufficient wealth, should especially take lessons from Manu, who acknowledged his kingdom and opulence to be gifts from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus always engaged in devotional service. Similarly, the descendants of Manu, or human beings, especially those who are situated in a well-to-do conditions, must consider that whatever riches they have are gifts from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those riches should be utilized for the service of the Lord in sacrifices performed to please Him. That is the way of utilizing wealth and opulence. No one can achieve wealth, opulence, good birth, a beautiful body, or nice education without the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, those who are in possession of such valuable facilities must acknowledge their gratefulness to the Lord by worshipping Him and offering what they have received from Him. When such acknowledgement is given, either by a family, nation, or society, their abode becomes almost like Vaikuntha, and it becomes free from the operation of the threefold miseries of this material world. In the modern age, the mission of Krishna consciousness is for everyone to acknowledge the supremacy of Lord Krishna. Whatever one has in his possession must be considered a gift by the grace of the Lord. Everyone, therefore, should engage in devotional service through Krishna consciousness. If one wants to be happy and peaceful in his position, either as a householder or citizen or member of human society, one must promote devotional service for the pleasure of the Lord. Kusha kashamayam bharhir astirya bhagavan manu ayajat yagya purusham labdha sthanam yatobhuvam. Manu spread a seed of kushas and kashas and worshipped the Lord, the personality of Godhead, by whose grace he had obtained the rule of the terrestrial globe. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate grimet kripa tamaha bande shri gurum dinatarinam. Om namo bhagavate narasimhaya namaste justejase avirhavir bhavavad chanaka vachadamstra karma shyan randa randa tamo grassa grassa om svaha abhaim abhaim atmani bhushta om kshrum. So, we have to acknowledge the proprietorship of the Lord, as we know from Ishopanishad. Isha vasyamidam sarvam, Isha vasyamidagham sarva, yatkincha jagatyam jagata, tena tyaktena bhunjitama gridah kasya svidhanam. So Krishna is the proprietor of everything in this universe, and not only in this universe, in all universes. He is the owner of everything. And one should take only the allotted quota that is allotted to him by the Lord, and should not encroach on others' quota, knowing well to whom everything belongs. So we have facilities given to us by the Lord in order to be engaged in devotional service. So what are those facilities? We have our body, first of all. It is the field of activity, the kshetra, okay? And we are the kshetragya, the knower of the field. And we are given also other things connected with our body. We are given certain talents, our material nature, our inclinations, and all of this should be engaged in devotional service. This is actually very interesting. We all know that we shouldn't steal, right? But often we are just thinking in our own terms. It's just a moral rule that we should follow, because it's not good to steal. It's not nice. But actually, all these moral rules and regulations, they have significance only when they're connected to Krishna. They don't have value on their own. This is something that we should try to understand. For example, stealing. Why we shouldn't steal, Jai Maharaj? Because, as we mentioned, in this way we are basically interrupting the devotional service of other living entities, whether it is direct or indirect, because everybody is serving the Lord directly or indirectly. So Krishna has given facilities to everybody, and we should not encroach on others' property, because this is bad for his service. That's why stealing is bad. It's not because just human beings, because we are entitled, self-entitled, we created these moral rules. Everything has connection with Krishna. So this is the ultimate reason behind everything. Otherwise we will be just claiming ownership and proprietorship. So Krishna is not only the owner of everything, but he is also the enjoyer. He is the proprietor and the enjoyer. Bhaktaram yagatapasam sarva loka maheshwaram sukhidam sarva dehinam gyatvam shantim richati. Krishna is the enjoyer, the proprietor, and the best friend. So he claims these three key positions. So he is the owner, the proprietor, he is the enjoyer. This is very difficult to accept for many people. For the devotees, sometimes also deep in our consciousness, we still think we are the enjoyers, and Krishna is there to facilitate our enjoyment. And on the top of this, Krishna is the best friend of all living entities. So he is our best friend. He is the best friend of humanity. Therefore, all these different ideas people have, how to manage human society, different isms. When all these ideas are not connected to Krishna, when they are independent from the Lord, then they are just different grades, different manifestations, different symptoms of envy towards Krishna. This is what you do when you're envious to somebody. You try to ignore him, you deny his rules, his ideas, his plans, and that's what people do. So Krishna is the best friend, and he knows how human society should be governed, and therefore he has given the Varnashrama system. This is the social structure that human society should be guided from, and of course civilized human beings. If you're not a human being, civilized human being, then there are other systems. Then you can follow your own mental speculation. But if you want to be human beings, there are standards. And Srila Prabhupada explains that if we don't follow the standards of the humans, then we will have to take birth in subhuman species. This is what is called the greatest danger in Bhagavad Gita. The greatest danger is to lose this human form of life, to fall down. So Krishna is Bhaktaram Yagatapasam. And this world is not ours to enjoy. So Krishna has given these facilities not to enjoy them. So here there is an interesting sentence Srila Prabhupada says here in the purport. Okay. So those who are in a better position in the world, having sufficient wealth, should especially take lessons from Manu, who acknowledge his kingdom and opulence to be gifts from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many people who do that, who acknowledge that this is God has given them these facilities. But what they do, so until now we are in agreement, and then many people continue this sentence. It says here, and thus always engaged in devotional service. So many people think, and thus always engaged in sense gratification. Why has God given us all these senses and sense objects? God is great, God is merciful, to enjoy. This is why the world is good. Because God is good, God knows what we want, so He has given this world to enjoy. But actually all these facilities are given to be engaged in devotional service. So now, what is the difference between devotional service and sense enjoyment? What's the difference? Bhagavan. Krishna India. So the difference is that we try to
gratifying our senses versus trying to gratify Krishna.
Yes. So in other words, devotional service doesn't deny the contact between the senses and the sense objects. Externally, it may look the same. Let's say a normal person goes to the kitchen and he cooks maybe even the same kitchen. And he may even cook the same preparation. And then the devotee goes into the kitchen, then he cooks same preparation. The fire burns in the same way. The rules how you mix the spices, how you cook the food, it's the same rules. So but what is the difference? The consciousness. Therefore we are Society for Krishna Consciousness. So the consciousness is, the attention is directed towards pleasing the Lord. Therefore, it is devotional service. The activities may be exactly the same, but the purpose is different. So the world is not ours to enjoy, the world is given to us as facility to be offered to the Lord, for the pleasure of the Lord. And many persons don't understand that. Some people just deny the existence of God. This is actually very convenient, when you try to encroach on somebody's property, you just deny his existence. This is very... So people put all this, everywhere. There are these signs, private property, right? And you're not supposed to enter because you may get in serious trouble. But somehow, although they acknowledge their their rights for private property and others, but they don't acknowledge that this is actually private property of the Lord. The whole material world is His. It belongs to Krishna. So many people don't acknowledge this. And even if they acknowledge that this is Krishna's world, still they think it is ours to enjoy. God has given it to us for enjoyment. And therefore some even prominent religionists, theologians, one of them, for example, he said that animals are ours for our usage, dead or alive. So that's what people think. They accept God, but they accept that God's creation is for them, for theirs. It's theirs to enjoy. And another thing, another important aspect is time, because everything happens in time. So we claim not only the space, but we claim the time as well. It's my time. Now every morning I'm waking up as the rightful proprietor of the next 24 hours of my time. I am the owner of this time. But the time factor is another aspect, another manifestation of the Lord. And we are not the owners of our time, obviously, because we appeared completely helplessly, a small crying baby. And this time has been given to us. We didn't manufacture it. And we cannot also prolong our time. Srila Prabhupada says, he gives the example of this person who wanted to, who requested the doctor that, please I need 4 years more. And Prabhupada says, you don't have even 4 seconds more, above and beyond what has been allotted to you as your allotted quota. Karmana daiva netrana. So this is a ridiculous claim that time belongs to us. It is not ours. We didn't manufacture it. We cannot control it. We can only try to utilize it properly. And therefore Srila Prabhupada also says that this is the greatest loss, even one moment of time which is not used in devotional service cannot be reclaimed in any amount by any amount of money. And now we have this famous verse from Bhāgavatam which says that with every sunrise and sunset, the lifespan of the human being is shortened, is taken away. There is only one exception for those who use their time, utilize their time in devotional service to glorify the Lord. So this is another very interesting concept. If you claim something, then whatever it is, you lose it. Okay, if you say, this is my body, this is my time, you lose it by the will, by the time factor. It takes away everything. But if you don't claim your time, if you don't think this is my time, I can use it any way I want, then you don't lose your time. Because you utilize it for devotional service. There is nothing to lose. So then, this same principle applies to any type of attachment. If you attach to anything, then we'll lose it. If we're not attached, if we are attached to devotional service and we utilize our facilities given by the Lord to satisfy Him, then we will not lose anything. We can only gain. Srila Prabhupada gives this example of when in Vaishnava aristocratic Bengali families, they I forgot what was, they take part of the bhoga and they offer it to the Lord. Then they say some specific term that it doesn't decrease, but it increases the quantity of food. Because technically it decreases because you take from the whole offering, you take a little bit to offer on the altar. So it, materially speaking, it decreases the quantity, but actually it increases it. So this is the same principle everywhere in our life. And also in the Bible it is stated that those who want to keep their life, they'll lose it. And those who sacrifice their lives, they will actually gain eternal life. I mean, sacrifice the life, that means in service of the Lord, not just any type. And also, to those who have, will be given more, and those who don't have, it will be taken away even this little that they have. Same principle. Another thing I wanted to mention is that here in this story we see that even for material purposes we have to follow the rules of the Lord. Even if we want to, let's say, to have comfortable material life, still we have to acknowledge that Krishna is the owner, the proprietor, and He gives the rules by which you can have successful material life. It is not that, okay, if I want to have spiritual success, then I have to follow the Vedas. But if I want material success, then I can do whatever I like. I just have to be practical. No. And here the example is very clear. Devahuti and Kardama Muni, they had very good life. They enjoyed life in devotional service, but they had very good facilities. Devahuti had a flying palace. You don't even have to go to the airport and catch an airplane. Even flying business class. It's misery. It's miserable. People make advertisement. They try to convince you that actually it is sense enjoyment. Actually, it's not. It's hellish experience. This flying. And Devahuti didn't even had to get out of her palace to travel around the whole universe. And how was this attained? By devotional service. Not by any other way. Of course, it was the goal of devotional service is not to have facilities, but by performing devotional service, Krishna will provide all the required facilities. I mean, they can vary in different situations. Devahuti was a princess, so she needed a bit more facilities, and some may need a little less. The point is that by following the rules of God, you can secure enough, even more than enough, material facilities. Of course, this is not the goal of devotional stories, but we are just saying this, that this is the proper way, even for a materialist, to be successful. And we see in 7th canto, even demons, they follow Varnashrama. Like Hiranyakashipu, he gave his son to Gurukul. We cannot say now that Hiranyakashipu was not practical. He was very practical. He was very successful in his material pursuits. He was controlling the whole universe. He took over the functions of the demigods. The demigods were afraid of him. He could do anything, practically. And he decided that my son has to go to Gurukul, because this is the proper way. Of course, it was not Daivi Varnashram, it was Asuric Varnashram, but still, even demons, they know this is the way to enjoy. This is how you enjoy, by following the rules. Of course, he did not follow the basic rule that one should surrender to the Lord, but he tried to manipulate the material elements in a proper way so that it's good for his sense enjoyment. So that's another thing I wanted to mention. And having good facilities. But then having good facilities is not enough for happiness, even for material happiness. What is required if you want to be happy? Relationships, right? Good facilities are just the place. Let's say you want to have a good house, nice apartment or whatever. Why do you want to have this? Why you need a good house? It will bring you the happiness, house, by itself. Okay, house is not a house unless there is a wife. The wife makes the house. Otherwise, the brahmachari sannyasi, they also live in a house, but it's not technically, it's just an ashram, you know. Well, it's also grihastha ashram. So we need a house so you can have relationship with other living beings. So relationships, rasa will make us happy with Krishna. So having facilities is not enough. And in the same way, just formal religious life, doing everything just because we are supposed to do, going once in a week to the temple or to the church or wherever, it's not going to make us actually happy, because then we'll still have this idea that this is the real life, material world, material life is the real life. This is where I actually find my happiness, or at least attempt to. And all these religious functions, they are just, I'm supposed to do those because this is the tradition I'm born in, this is what I'm supposed to do, but it is just a formality. And the real life is here. I spend, let's say, 2 hours in the temple or in the church or in the whatever, every week, and then the real life is what happens after or before that. And until we develop personal relationship with Krishna, and this is happening by chanting the holy name, because the acharyas explain that when we chant the holy name, then we, by the grace of the holy name, we will attain the realization of the form of the Lord and then of His qualities. So the point I want to make is that unless we actively pursue this relationship with the Lord, then we'll be stuck in this materialistic concept about spirituality. And spirituality will remain boring affair for us. And the interesting things will be happening in between. This will be the real life. And it's supposed to be just the opposite. The material world is supposed to gradually fade away as something that is not important. It is just there as a matter of formality. And then the spiritual reality is supposed to become real. Reality to become real, to gain actual significance in our lives. And this will happen by chanting the holy name and hearing the pastimes of the Lord, by performing devotional service, by serving the great devotees. If this doesn't happen, we'll be stuck in this gray zone in between, because there will be nothing to attract us. And the only attractive objects will remain here on this side. Sometimes, the material side. Sometimes because Srila Prabhupada explains that by reading Śrimad Bhāgavatam, one will gradually realize his own relationship with Krishna. That means by reading the pastimes, there will be certain pastimes which will make you especially attracted to them. And then our life will change, because until then we'll be just having our lives, and then from time to time we'll make a time to read Bhagavatam. It happens, but it's just a feature of our material life. Okay, my material life has this special Krishna conscious nice element that from time to time I'm reading about Krishna, and then it's nice. But this is part of the material life. I'm actually here in the material world, and I have this spiritual inclination. But then when we actually develop attraction, then it will be opposite. Then we'll have our own favorite moments in these pastimes of Krishna. And then, because let's say we read Chaitanya Charitamrita all the time, we read, and then inside these pastimes we have they're all nice, of course, they're all spiritual, but there are specific pastimes that we like most. So our life will be around the moments when we have to read these particular pastimes. So it will be different experience. Okay, the life is just, material life is just something in between. Okay, this is my favorite pastime. When again I will come back to this pastime? So maybe in a few months or in 1 year, if you read the books constantly. So it will be different experience. And then by reading these books, the Prabhupada's books describing Krishna's pastimes, we can clearly see that this is the place where I want to go. This relationship with Krishna, with the devotees, is what I aspire for. It's nothing for me here in this material world, actually. If you read, for example, first canto of Bhagavatam, when Narada Muni, as a small boy, he received the mercy of the Mahabhagavatas, and then his mom left his body because she was bitten by a snake, and then he started traveling, and then he attained the darshan of the Lord. He heard the Lord, and then the Lord told him, unfortunately, I'm really sorry that you won't see me again this lifetime. And then the description of the reminder of Narada Muni's lifetime is very short. He just says, well, I just kept traveling, and when completely aloof, completely unattached to everything, and when the proper time came, I received a spiritual body. This is the whole life It doesn't even say how long it was. In other words, it is not so important what happens in this material life. It's not so important. Of course, it doesn't mean that we should abuse our body or have some crazy lifestyle. We should maintain properly whatever facilities we are given by the Lord. But it's not so important what actually happens. More important is to cultivate our relationship with Krishna. All right, and last thing I wanted to mention. Here we are having this purport and the verse and the whole section speaks about Manu, and Manu is the father of mankind. And Srila Prabhupada says the word comes, the word man comes from Manu or Manushya. So Manu is the father of mankind, and he is the lawgiver, and he is one of the Mahajans in Bhāgavatam. There are 12 Mahajans described. So his authority in devotional service. And we hear about his personality. We see that he is actually very loving father and perfect husband, etc. So Manu, first of all, he took care, he took the time and the trouble to travel with his daughter and his wife all the way to this forest where the ashram of Kardama Muni, just to make sure that his daughter is happy. And when they were parting their ways, because now Devahuti had to stay with her husband, Manu was shedding tears. He was very affectionate, calling her daughter mother. Prabhupada makes this point in the purport. So we see that he's very considerate, very gentleman, his perfect personality, Samahajan. When he understood that his daughter is attracted to Kardama Muni, he made arrangement. So, what I want to say is that his Manu's scripture, Manu Samhita, okay, so now we get to the point. We should not eagerly dismiss Shastra just because we don't understand. If we don't understand something, then we should say, I don't understand how this is applicable, how this is practical, how this works in Kali Yuga, in my day-to-day life. I don't understand. But that's what we should say. We shouldn't say, oh, it doesn't apply. Oh, this is bogus. Doesn't work in Kali Yuga. Because we should be very careful, because first of all, in the morning we recite these offenses against the holy name, right? And one of the offenses is what? To blaspheme Shruti and Smriti. We should say, I don't understand. I don't know. We shouldn't dismiss, we shouldn't reject Shastra, because this is atheistic. Srila Prabhupada explains that the Buddhists are called atheists only on the basis of the fact that they reject Vedas. That's all. Because they reject the Vedas, they're atheists. So we shouldn't go into this direction, picking and choosing which Shastra is bona fide, which Shastra is not. The Acharyas have given us instructions, and we should try to understand how the Shastra is applicable, not just dismiss it. Okay, thank you very much. That's what I want to say. And if you have any comments or questions.
Hare Krishna, Haribo. Thank you for the class. You were saying that practically we see that the real happiness does not come from having facilities, but rather having relationships. And often in our how to say, existence in our spiritual life and our material life, very often we think material life will make me happy because subconsciously we connect material life with relationships. Oh, I can go outside and I can have fun with my friends and we can go do this pastime and that pastime. And so our picture of material life means relationships, going with someone somewhere and doing something. But our concept of spiritual life actually, although we know we are personal philosophy and we are worshipping personal Lord, but actually our concept is not really about relationships. It's more about doing things.
Liberation also.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I have to do, now this is my duty that I have to fulfill, and then this duty, and then we don't connect it with a relationship, with doing something with people, or doing something directly with Krishna, with the Supreme Person. So can you comment on this, basically, why we have this idea that actually material life is personal and that's why we like it, and spiritual life, although we are person, somehow we don't perceive it in this way, as a personal.
Yes, it's because of impersonal contaminations and ignorance and material attachment. In first canto already, one commentary, Srila Prabhupada explains that the impersonalists, they are doing great disservice to the society because they claim that the absolute truth is impersonal, and that means they leave the people with only one choice. I cannot enjoy spiritually, you cannot enjoy spiritually, because everything is impersonal, so you're left only with, Srila Prabhupada uses the term abominable, I think, disgusting, materialistic sense gratification. So because this is our default condition, and it takes time to realize that the real life is in the real relationships, the real fun. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I'm the adventure. The real nice, interesting things are in the spiritual world, not here. It takes time to realize this. Therefore, we remain impersonally inclined for some time while we are practicing sadhana bhakti. And is this where you are going to with this comment? And I mean, we should try to develop good relationships with the devotees. This is very important, deep relationship. Like my Diksha Guru, lately, he stresses not so much the book distribution part, although he's still stressing this a lot, but he's stressing more the developing of camaraderie, of deep relationship between the brahmacharis in the ashram. No, of course, it's not only about the brahmacharis, it's about the community of devotees in general. We should have nice relationship. Real community means that we are sharing the common values and we have common goals. Community doesn't mean just a crowd of people in one place. So by paying attention to the devotees around us, by talking to them, we should make time to talk to the devotees. Not just mechanically do service with them. Okay, what is the next in our list? Okay, we have to do this. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's do the next thing. But if we don't cultivate this deep friendship, then we won't be emotionally fulfilled, and then we'll look for this rasa somewhere else, or we will become just impersonalists. That's what Bhāgavatam describes. In 11th canto, there is this famous verse: the devotees. Well, it's already in Bhagavad Gita. Machita Madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayatascha nitam tishanti charamanticha. And Bhagavatam describes that the devotees, they should cultivate friendship of course with the spiritual master, but amongst themselves. And by this deep friendship, they will be able to give up sense gratification. And how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains how this happens. One devotee will meet another devotee, and then he will say, oh, just by observing him, he will say, oh, you have given up sense gratification. Obviously, this is somehow apparent by the demeanor of the devotee. You have given up sense gratification. Starting from today, I shall also give it up. That's how it will work. But if we just stay in separate rooms, and physically and also mentally, and don't associate, don't talk with each other. Like among the devotees, we should know who is who. We should know, okay, I should know about you, for example. What's your situation? What's your family like? What's your background? What are the struggles that you go through? Of course, not with everybody. Therefore, the acharyas, they explain that it is guhyam akirti prichati. It is confidential. It's not with everybody, but at least with some devotees, we should have some deep relationships, and this will save us in the time of struggle, because we will have to go through certain tests in our spiritual life. And then, practically speaking, where is your Guru Maharaj right now? If you have initiation, he's in Goloka Vrindavan. And you may have some very deep spiritual connection with him, but in the case you're not so realized, then who is going to help you? Your friends, if you have in Krishna consciousness, they will help you to go through. Or Prabhupada can help you also, if you are like his Prabhupada's books, etc. But sometimes all these things don't work. They work, but we are not pure enough to take full advantage of them. So we need somebody. Anyway, I think you understand what I'm talking about. No need to elaborate more on this. Tulsi Prabhu, is this what you want to? Okay, something else? Yes.
Thank you for the class. Yes. So you mentioned about direct and indirect service, and how the living entities, we need to be careful, how we affect other living entities because they're engaged in direct and indirect service. So direct service we can understand, but how do we understand indirect service that living entities are engaged in?
I meant what Prabhupada says, that we are either directly engaged in service of Krishna, or we are indirectly engaged in service of Krishna by serving Maya, Krishna's illusory potency. That's what I meant. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Manushya Partha Sarvashaha. Everybody, yeah. This one, Aparis Prakriti Jiva Bhuta Mahavagho Yadam Dharite Jagat. Yeah, also this one. What I meant was that everybody follows my path. That means there is only one path that leads either towards Krishna or the opposite way. So we can choose either to serve Krishna or Maya, but we'll be serving nonetheless. Is this enough? That's okay? Or?
So they're serving Maya, therefore they're serving Krishna.
They're serving Krishna indirectly.
In some kind of long-term way.
Yeah. Not necessarily. We may stay here as long as we want to. As long as we don't make this decision that we want to surrender to the Lord, we may stay even as Lord Brahma. As a great sage who gives the Vedas, whatever position we attach to materially, Krishna can give us this position. Okay, Prabhu, you wanted to say something?
Since yesterday, I was curious about the kusha grass, and there might not be an answer ready for this, but it's a curiosity. That, Kusha, it's saying Kusha and Kasha grass came from the body of Lord Varahadev and fell to the... And then we're using that to make mats to sit on. I know it's pure, right? But if something came, it's like directly part of the Lord's body, and then we take that thing and we sit on it. It's kind of like, I was thinking like an analogy, maybe you get some special prasadam like Govinda's shirt or something like that. It was like, well, this is eternally pure, so I'm going to use it for my own puja and just sit on it like a mat. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts about that. It's quite strange, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah. Okay, maybe this can help. I think we can understand there are different types of Mahaprasadam from the Lord. There is this type of Mahaprasadam that is like worshipable in a sense that everything is worshipable, but you put it on the altar and you worship it. But there are also other items that can be used, like the spiritual master, for example, gives you, like Tulsi Prabhu, now he received Mahaprasadam from his Guru Maharaj, a jacket. This is in Kadambakala Maharaj's will. That this jacket goes to Tulsi. So now he may decide to put it on the altar and worship it, or he may decide to actually wear it. And I think Maharaj intended that he actually wears this because in New York it's cold in the winter, so there is a way that you can use these articles coming from the Lord. There is a way, according to your consciousness, that will not be offensive. Like for this one example, the kusha grass. This is the intent of the Lord. It should be used in this way because He's concerned about His devotees. They have to maintain purity. Also, while we worship Him, everything should be auspicious. So, in a sense, just like Balaram is the umbrella, he expands as different items. The umbrella of the Lord, the shoes, whatever, different paraphernalia as Ananta Shesh. So it's used in His service. So it's not in any way displeasing to the Lord. And this is actually the most important, right? Well, yes. Tulsi wants to add something.
Well, I was thinking it's given by the Lord, but also the Lord Himself is saying for what it should be used.
Yeah.
So actually you have to obey His desire.
Yeah.
Because through Shastra He's explaining, okay, kusha grass should be used for this, in this, and this way. So that's why we are doing it. If He was saying, no, you should just put it on the altar and worship, then we will do that.
Yeah.
So whatever Krishna is saying.
It's the ultimate standard is whether it is pleasing to the Lord or not. So if it's pleasing to Him, we do it. We try to, at least. Yeah, I thought about the same example, but I thought maybe it's far a little bit. Just thought about this. Okay. Yes.
What about, we know in many places Srila Prabhupada is saying, if we just read like 4 books, Bhagavad Gita, teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Śrimad Bhāgavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is enough to make complete advancement, to achieve perfection in spiritual life. So now, sometimes we see like here and there it is mentioned, okay, Manu Samhita or this special book, that special book. So we as a devotees, do we have to go through learning these things? Do we have to know about them, or just reading the books that Srila Prabhupada actually gave us?
Both can work. If we are more simple type of devotee, then we just stick to whatever is in our sphere of interest. But if we are more complicated, if the mind works more in a complicated way, then we will read also other books, not just these books. And then there are guidance what kind of books should be read also. And Srila Prabhupada describes especially for the Manu Samhita, it is for the leaders of human society. It's not for everybody, for the leaders. The leaders are Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas to some extent. But the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, they should study Manu. Or if we speak about the books of the Acharyas, for example, Srila Prabhupada gives guidelines also. For example, for Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Prabhupada says there are 2 books that are most important out of 100 books, even more. Chaitanya Shikshamrita and Jaiva Dharma. So you study these 2 books, they kind of represent the whole teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Prabhupada gave certain instructions regarding books outside of his books, how to study them, and he mentions in purports when it is important. But it can work without studying these books also. Because also Prabhupada said, everything is in my books, so you don't actually require. But first, if you're going to study anyway, because this is your nature, so this is the books, and this is the way you study them. Okay. Grantara Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, all glories to the seven devotees. Glories to Shri Guru Gauranga ki jai.